everyone. Welcome to another one of the iSH podcast series, which is all about showcasing the amazing technical capability we have here in Cumbria. Today we are in the deep recovery facility of Forth Engineering, which is one of the world-leading SMEs in the nuclear industry, and we're proud to have them here in Cumbria. We're very excited to have Mark Telford, the Managing Director of Forth Engineering, here with us today. Forth have 25 years of experience in delivering solutions to some of the world's most challenging problems in the nuclear sector around the world. So welcome, Mark. Great
Hello.
to have you here.
Hi there.
Thanks for being with us today.
My
Can
pleasure.
you tell us a little bit about Forth Engineering? What do you do?
Wow, that's a good question, Miranda. Yeah, we're predominantly a fluid power engineering company, so that's hydraulics and pneumatics. Over the last 25 years, that's transferred from just that to electronics, to robotics, and anything really that's themed around remote and removing people from harm's way in harsh environments. Not just nuclear actually, but oil and gas and renewables and other industries as well.
Fascinating. So where did it all start? How did you end up here? How did you create Forth? What brought it about?
All right. So I left Sellafield in 1993 after serving my apprenticeship in mechanical engineering and specialising in fluid power. I then went to work for a fluid power company, which I ended up buying at 23 years old. I left that company in November 13th, 2000, and we started Forth Engineering, myself and my wife, as a vehicle to go back to Sellafield as consultancy. I then managed 6 months before I got itchy feet and went and took a unit down in Maryport. There wasn't any closer in Workett nor Clayton Moor, where I lived at the time. So I ended up in Maryport, where we started with a transit van, and I was working, there's two of us working. Nicholas stayed at Sellafield, and I took another engineer on. So there was just the two of us that started in 2000.
And that's where Forth began, basically.
That's where it began. It was the vehicle to go consultant at Sellafield, and then I left, Nicholas stayed, and it grew from there. So we started originally, we were asked to look at debris removal from the nuclear ponds in FGMSP. Being a fluid power engineer, I'd come up with the idea of using road traffic accident tools, so the fire brigade tools, which are hydraulically driven, that would work underwater. So we perfected that early doors. That obviously needed then deployed, so you've got long reach poles to connect to it to get it into the nuclear ponds to the bottom. Then we needed instrumentation like cameras and lights and sensors, so that sort of spurred the electronic side of the business to develop. We started developing our own cameras and lights and manufacturing radiation tolerant equipment from there. And that's the evolution. It evolved from there. So the journey into replacing people from harm's way in extreme environments is where we are today.
And we've seen some really interesting innovations, the new solutions that you've just recently created. Can you just give us a quick overview of each of those, of what they are?
Well, probably the most exciting ones are the rescue robot, which is based around a 1.6 ton mini digger, a JCB. We're very much a company that doesn't reinvent wheels. We don't want to do that. So when Sellafield asked us for a rescue vehicle, we start with a vehicle that is the most robust in the world. So we bought a JCB, we stripped it all back and made it into a remote control robot. So we took the cab off, attached cameras all around the machine, and it's completely wirelessly remote controlled. So that now lives in a fast response trailer, kitted out with big screen TVs. So if there's ever an incident, the rescue robot can be deployed to the incident site safely, where it can then come out of the trailer and travel off and rescue people, knock down walls, cut through things, spray fixidant onto contaminated areas. It's a real Swiss Army knife rescue tool.
Brilliant. And can you give us a bit of an overview of what we've seen here at the pond facility?
Yeah. Well, today we were showing the NDA, some of the developments that we've been working on with the Decommissioning Alliance and Sellafield in partnership. What we've been shown today is, we call it skip tipping. It's as simple as that. The nuclear storage skips that are in FGMSP need consolidated. Most of them are only a quarter full. So we literally developed a system that can pick the skip up underwater and tip it upside down into one of the other skips. So we may take 4 or 5 partly filled skips and tip them into one. That releases those skips to be able to be removed from the pond and accelerate the decommissioning process.
So what do you think is unique about Forth? What's different about what you do? How do you do things differently to everybody else in the community?
Well, there's quite a lot of unique things I would say about Forth, but one of them is our size versus our agility. We were once likened to a speedboat versus an oil tanker, so that we can quickly change and adapt and move in a different direction. That was a quote by a company called British Energy, which is now EDF, an operating power station in Heysham and Hartlepool, which we helped get back into running order after the NII had actually closed them down. So that's fairly unique, and we couldn't do that if we were a big company. We can only be agile, as agile as we are, because of the size that we are. And we can quickly make a decision without going to committee or without asking too many people about it, really.
We're also very proud to have you as a core member of the Cumbria Robotics Cluster, so the iSH facilitated and empowered robotics cluster in the region. It's really important that we have the sort of SMEs, the core SMEs that are creating those amazing solutions to some of these problems as part of that cluster. And what we see within the cluster is the amazing willingness to collaborate. So I'm aware that you are part of a collaboration of your own as part of Resolve. Could you give us a little bit of a kind of understanding about Resolve and what it does in relation to the Sellafield Centre of Excellence sprints, please? Sure.
You're right. Collaboration is everything. And the robotics cluster certainly promotes that collaboration. The Resolve Engineered Solutions business is fairly innovative, or very innovative, I would say. It's 4 of the leading SMEs in the area that have come together. We all do very similar things to each other, but actually we all do the parts of a full project well differently. So it's difficult to explain. But for example, if we do a project on our own as Forth, we'll do all the optioneering at the start. We'll do the engineering and the proof of concept. We'll do the manufacturing, and then we'll do the lifetime quality records and paperwork. It's difficult enough to get engineers anyways that can do all of that. And because we're an SME, we don't have lots of resource. So my engineers don't really like doing the front end stuff, the upfront stuff. They like to get the sleeves rolled up and get on with the solution. And they don't really like doing the back end paperwork, which is the CE marking and the lifetime quality records, that sort of thing. So they're very, very good at the middle bit. So it really works when you're working with a company called React, which is part of Resolve.
Yeah.
They're very good at doing the front bit, and they don't like doing the middle bit.
Right.
So they do the front bit, we do the middle bit. Core Systems do the middle bit as well, but we are different than Core, so there's no real clashes there.
Yeah, you do like have different capability and focus on different types of solutions.
Really.
Yeah.
And then you've got comms who like doing the back end part of it. So it's really good for us because we can release doing the front and the back. Yeah. And it's really good for them because they don't have to do the middle bit either. So it really does supercharge all four companies. And when you actually stop and think about it, we're all about the same sort of size, turnover wise and employee wise. We're around about 50. I think the others are similar sort of amounts of employees. But actually, when you stop and think about it, that gives us 200 supercharged employees within the organisation that we can call on. So the confidence of being able to tackle any challenge, it's far greater than any of the sort of bigger companies that are around.
That's a really interesting perspective because I'd thought about the kind of complementary capabilities of, you're better at one thing, they're better at another thing. So, there's a certain efficiency and productivity around working together like that. But the confidence piece is a really interesting one I hadn't thought of. Well,
actually, when you think about it, in an SME, you've usually got several hats that you have to wear on a daily basis anyways. So when you've got the combination of four of the largest SMEs, culminating into over 200 employees that are all wearing several hats because that's what they used to do, and all of a sudden it's a huge entity and a powerful entity as well.
Fantastic. So I've also understood that you are doing a little bit of the diversification that I think a lot of companies in this region would like to do, aspire to, but perhaps haven't taken that leap. So tell us a little bit about the other sectors you operate in.
Okay, so I think I'm going back to probably 2014 now when a large oil and gas company called EM&I approached us really because of our reputation in Sellafield and the media that they'd seen about the work that we were doing. So they approached us because their environment is dangerous. They usually have divers and they're putting people in harm's way. So the whole ethos of what we do, of taking people out of extreme environments and replacing them with machines or robots, they needed that as well. So it was really interesting to work with them. They're not as hamstrung by red tape either, so it makes a completely different environment to work in.
And how is it different? Is there a different culture working with them versus working in the nuclear industry, or is it very similar?
It's still a highly regulated industry, as you can imagine, and the type of high value work that you do or that they're doing and we're helping them to do. But yeah, there's a difference in culture, definitely.
In what way?
I would say in terms of, I'm going to be very careful in how I say this, Miranda, but in terms of ownership of the problem, and the problem costs them money. They have to make money from the work that they do.
Sure.
Usually the nuclear industry has a yearly budget that it's got to spend. So it's not actually making money.
Yeah, it's a national problem. It's a public, absolutely. It's a public responsibility.
Whereas working in the oil and gas and other industries that we work in, every penny counts to them.
So it's more commercial,
It's
perhaps?
Absolutely more commercial, which is a big driver to get the job done. Failure just isn't an option.
I think it's great that you're doing it, though, and I think we want to see more of that, and we'd like to encourage it if it's something that the companies that we have in our clusters are looking for as well.
Well, I genuinely think that the businesses in West Cumbria are all looking into Sellafield because it's here. You do, but the real value is turning around and telling the rest of the world how good we are at what we do, because we don't realise that we are. we just get on with it because we live with it every day. We live with Sellafield on our doorstep. We don't think twice about it, and we potentially should think twice about it because the work that everybody does in this area is exceptional.
Well, you've queued me up nicely there because my next question was going to be about your international work. So talking about, looking outside of Sellafield and West Cumbria and Cumbria. I understand you do a bit of international work as well, or you're kind of looking to look out to other countries?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be next year now, but we are opening a facility out in Malta.
Wow.
It was going to be this year, but we've focused our time on the acquisition of Hallpack, which is a precision engineering CNC business. That's now fully incorporated into Forth and is here at the Riseau facility. So early next year, we'll be opening a place in Valletta.
Nice.
We've been out there with the Maltese government, and we've picked a facility, and we're currently viewing CVs for a managing director out there.
Oh,
and then we're hoping to grow that in Malta. What that does as well, it brings back our ability to CE mark, which is really important to us. After Brexit, we left Europe, so we're now UK CE marking, but that means we can only supply to the UK.
Yeah.
If we have, or when we have, our Maltese office, that gives us back the ability to CE mark as well as CE, so it widens the scope.
And do you see the Maltese market as a high value market, a big opportunity?
Malta is a very, very small company. It's half the size of the Isle of Man, but it's got more than the population of the whole of Cumbria.
Wow.
There, it's a showcase place for a lot of big oil and gas, marine, and mining companies.
Okay.
It's mainly head offices that are there,
right.
But that's the gateway into the sites and the plants and the opportunities. So Malta's always been a trading post for the UK forever. Well, a lot of hundreds of years. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's the same as England, isn't it? It's got you drive on the right side of the car, on the right side of the road with double yellow lines and everything else. So it's very UK orientated. The first language is English, so that makes life a lot easier. So it's always been a trading post, and that's how we're treating it, really. So
it's a strategic positioning, really, isn't it? Because it kind of takes you over to everywhere around the Mediterranean, being it, Middle East, Greece, Turkey, whatever, wherever you want to go from there.
It's very close to Italy,
the
Middle East and Africa as well, which is a market that we're not into, mining. That's a target market that we don't do at the moment.
Interesting. Okay.
But the diamond mines and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity there where the need for the removal of human interaction is what we do.
It's critical for sure. Fascinating. So I understand you're also very passionate about West Cumbria and supporting the economy, I would say, from what I've seen. So I understand that you're part of a kind of skills and kind of back to work type organization. You were involved with the solving of the problem with the harbour, the Whitehaven Harbour wave, and I know recently you were involved very, very heavily in the Baton of Hope challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about what's driven all of that?
Sure. I've ended up developing a bit of a policy that we like to help anything that isn't a lifestyle choice. And by that I mean sponsoring football teams or go-kart racing is a lifestyle choice.
Right.
When that choice has been taken away from somebody, they can't help themselves. So that's what we base our social impact on. I'll talk a little bit about Good Lives, which is one of our key charities that we support, who basically walk beside anybody who needs support and help whatever time in their life. The weight are measured on getting people into work, so that's not necessarily people who have worked and are out of work. It could be people who have never worked. It could be people who can't work currently. It could be anybody from mental health to abuse victims or drug addicts or ex-criminals even want a new start. That's what the way they're measured on, but they're not actually the people within the organisation won't exclude anybody just to get the figures that they need. If the output isn't going to happen or the result isn't going to be weighed and measured, that doesn't mean to say that they won't continue to help those people. So we heavily support that. That organisation is in Cleatamore. It's not just because I live there that we support it. It's because of the real reasons. However, they're supporting anybody over 16 to whatever age. It doesn't really make a difference. But we also support youth teams, so Wathbrow Hornets, Egremont Rangers, Cleatamore Celtic, Lauca.
Yeah.
And the reasons why we support them is because what they're doing with the youth teams is stopping those youths, the youths of today, turning into those people that Good Lives helps. So we're trying to hit the circle from both angles, which I think is really, really, really important. And you know, growing up in that town in Cleatamore, a lot of the people, too many of the people that I went to school with aren't here anymore, for reasons of what Good Lives helps people with.
Sure.
So, and you know, a few is too many.
Yeah.
Hence our involvement with the Baton of Hope.
Understood. Yeah. It was great to see that, and I think you really did the county proud, to be honest, with all of the social media that I saw on that. It was really positive. Brilliant.
So in terms of the wave in Whitehaven, that was a millennium project from 2000, and the lights on the wave were made with the technology at the time, which was glass bulbs, neon glass bulbs, which are shaped, and they don't last. They're very expensive to run. So the lights, I think the Harbour Commission gave up on the lights around about 2007. It's maybe not the exact date, but around about that time. So it wasn't long after they were commissioned, really. And it was the biggest ask of the community in West Cumbria, that why can't we have the wave relit?
Lit again, yeah.
And it's all down to cost. It was going to cost an enormous amount of money to do it. So I approached the then CEO of the Harbour Commissioners and said, how about we will pay for 50% of it if you can afford to pay the other 50%. So that's really how it came about. The curveball that I wasn't expecting to get from that, because you know I really wanted to leave a legacy in the area and get it up and running again. Yeah. The bit I didn't expect was our engineers worked tirelessly into the night, because you couldn't switch it on until it was dark. So, you know, we were working out of hours, and it was extra curriculum. So we still had our day jobs to do. When that was lit, I witnessed something that was incredible, really. The camaraderie between the guys, because they'd achieved it, was phenomenal.
That's amazing.
They were all buying each other pints and pizzas and things.
Nice.
And not one of them put it on their timesheets.
You've obviously got a lot of pride in this organisation and what you've achieved, both from a business perspective and from a kind of people skills and social impact perspective.
Well, I find that with those rewards, it becomes almost the more you do in the community, the more you get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why we continue to do what we do.
Understood,
with the theme of we're not going to help lifestyle choices.
And it makes absolute sense. It's a brilliant motto. Okay, so clearly a lot of that is personal to you. So let's kind of delve a little bit deeper into that personal life. So, who is Mark outside of work? What are your interests? Have you got any kind of hobbies or passions? outside of work? Do you have any free time outside of work?
I have lots of free time, especially now,
Great.
because I've got such a good team that do what, everything like clockwork. So yeah, I do find myself at this stage of life with plenty of time on my hands. First of all, when you say outside of work, I don't class what I do as work. It stopped being work in 1993.
It's a way of life, yeah.
It's just a way of life, yeah. And once you're free from those chains,
yeah,
it's a really good different way of life as well. So I never class it as work. So for that reason, I'm rarely outside of work. Work comes first. The business comes first. The people within the organisation come first.
Don't tell your family that.
No, well, my family's part of it as well. Don't forget my wife. I started it with my wife in
of course.
in 13th of November 2000. Yeah, out in any spare time I've got, I like to go to the Isle of Man.
Nice.
I think eventually we would agree that we might want to finish up there, retire out there at some point if that's ever on the cards.
You just like the location, the environment, the scenery.
It's just a lovely place. Mm-hmm. It's very much like West Cumbria, but without any crime and without it looking over your shoulder, and everybody's really friendly. We're all known out there. Me, Nicola, my son Matthew, and daughter Elise. We're all known when we go into the shops. Wow. They recognise you.
Okay.
You don't even get that going to work it sometimes, do you? So yeah.
I'm from London, so for me it's completely different.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's amazing how often I see people that I know in Cockermouth, and it's I'm not used to it.
Right. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing that I would do outside of being in a work environment. Fantastic,
sounds lovely. So just a final question then. What's next for Forth? You've talked about Malta, obviously, but what other aspirations have you got for the company?
So I talked earlier about the acquisition of Haulpak, which is a precision engineering. We term that as subtractive engineering. So you take a piece of material and you turn it down or mill it down to the shape and size that you want it. So you take a material away. We're in the process of building a very much state-of-the-art additive manufacturing facility at our Leconfield site, at our Unit 6 at Leconfield. So that's 3D printing. Yep. But 3D printing in a big way. So we've got lots of different materials that we can print in, including plastics and polymers and carbon fibre. We're also just installing 2 metal printers that should be able to print absolute state of the art. I don't know of any other place in the north of England that has this capability, but we'll be able to print in steel, copper and exotic materials like Inconel.
And assuming growth and expansion of the facilities and of the capability, the skills, the people?
Yep. We've just signed the lease, or we are about to sign the lease within the next, 24 hours on 2 new buildings on the Leconfield Industrial Estate. So the original part of our business, which was the trade counter, the fluid power, hose manufacturing, cylinder repairs, that sort of thing, we'll be opening a facility very, very similar to that at Cleator. A lot of our customers are saying they just can't justify driving past Workington to get to us, so they would use somebody in Workington. So we're actually going to scratch that itch and open a place in Cleator as well.
Fantastic. And on the iSH Enterprise campus, as it will soon be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Great. We look forward to having you there.
Yeah. So that's Unit 1, Unit 6, Unit 8, Unit 15D and 15F, and Plot 19 on the iSH campus that we have.
There'll be no one but Forth on there in the end.
I was going to ask you to rename it to the Forth.
The Forth campus. Yeah. Forth. We can't have enough of Forth. It's all good. It's all really, really positive.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate it.